Hello, and welcome to the Original Remake Podcast, a show where we take the role of Hollywood executives, shamelessly exploiting your nostalgia for money. My name is Pat, and I'm joined by Amy.
Hello.
Andrea.
Hello.
And Nick.
Oh, hi.
And today we'll be discussing the 2002 Dog Soldiers.
Wait, it was really 2002?
Yes,
It was 2002, a mere 4 years after Masterminds, which spent a lot more money on its film to be a lot worse.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know
This was
why.
definitely a low budget movie. It was only budgeted at 2.3 million, which is pretty low for
That's-
2000.
That's more than Masterminds made.
Yeah.
That's it's pretty low for the quality of the final product, for sure. All right, so for those who haven't seen the film, I'll do a brief synopsis. It's essentially about a group of soldiers on what they think is a training mission, which turns out to not be a training mission, but a real mission against werewolves. And action ensues.
That's basically it.
And it takes place mostly in one location, which is just a house in the middle of nowhere.
In Scotland.
In Scotland.
It was in Scotland?
It was based in Scotland, but they filmed it in Luxembourg.
I thought it took place in England.
No, so the prologue, which I have an issue, not necessarily a major issue with, but there's like two prologues, right? It starts off in Scotland with the campers, and then it jumps for some reason to Wales, and then it jumps back to Scotland, which is annoying. I feel like there's two prologues in this movie, and I don't want that. I don't want the campers. We don't need it.
Yeah.
I say just do the training prologue.
There doesn't need to be. I agree.
No, I agree with that too.
Absolutely, especially when you get the effect. When you see Captain Ryan and his team is just bloody spots all over the place.
Yeah, that's enough.
You get the entire meaning behind the campers.
Mm.
Yeah,
and
they wanted
to kind of to show how pointless it was. We started the movie and I didn't get to the living room fast enough. So I walked in right about where the girl was being dragged out of the tent. And I was like, oh, I seem to have missed something. It's probably not important.
Yeah.
Turns out it wasn't.
Correct.
I mean, they're only in the film so they can point out that they have a silver silver little
dagger.
It's not even it's like a paper opener or letter
like
opener.
Pendant.
Oh,
yeah, and that's the reason that part's in the movie, but you can cut that out and get silver from somewhere else, or just not have silver.
Or if you want to put that pendant in somewhere, there's a bunch of different ways you could do it.
Well, they already call it out when they're all sitting around the table about
Silver.
how are there no silver in this house, and then they kind of figure out that the werewolves live in that house.
It could even be one of the soldiers gifts that they carry, not gifts, but little trinkets they carry around when they're doing missions, from a family.
A necklace or a pendant. A soldier could have one. That would be perfect.
Or they could be rummaging in the materials in the house and
they actually did some exposition on.
Oh yeah,
because the werewolves lived there. It was like the lead-in, the foreshadowing that it is the werewolf's house. That I think the line was something along the lines of, what self-respecting werewolf would have silver in their own home?
Yes, you're right. Yeah. I think the idea of having it as like a soldier's item, personal item or something, makes more sense.
It does. Yeah. Especially when you stumble on the Special Forces camp full of obliterated soldiers. You're just going to have stuff everywhere.
Right. Yeah. So to kind of go back to the beginning here of, when we've seen this film and kind of the impact it had on us. I know I saw it when I was 16, 17, not longer after it came out. I saw it on DVD and really, really fell in love with this film. I was someone who wanted to be, a director or a writer when I grew up, when I was younger.
I thought you were going to say wanted to be a werewolf.
Honestly, I take it. That's fine.
I thought you were going to say wanted to be a soldier.
Oh,
No, that less. A werewolf soldier would be great. A dog soldier, if you will.
He did the thing.
He did the
It's the
thing.
name
He
of
said
the
the
thing.
He said the name. He said the name.
But yeah, this film was fantastic for me, and really one of those films that I've seen probably 5+ times at this point. Amy, this was your pick, though. When did you first see this?
I didn't see it when it first came out. Honestly, I can't remember the specific year. I know it had been a couple years after. I probably rented it from somewhere and just watched it. It could have even been with you. I saw it the first time.
I did have it on Blu-ray, and I let my friend borrow it, and he never gave it back.
That bastard.
I know.
I have a love for horror movies, and I don't want to say dislike, but I don't tend to enjoy soldier movies that much. So this made me enjoy a soldier horror movie even better.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know much about, soldier lingo, or, if it was filmed correctly or realistically, but it seemed natural. It seemed like it could really be a group of soldiers training for something. That's how they really, interact with each other. The command, how they all work together. So it just seemed good acting, good character.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I wanted to.
No, that was it. Good characters.
I was gonna say that I totally agree with that. Like, I wrote that down in my own notes. Like, I like the camaraderie of all the soldiers. I mean, their accents are kind of thick, which is fine. I like it. But as a result, I had a bit of a hard time understanding the bones of what it was they were talking about throughout all the
footy match.
The footy matches, yeah.
There's all the footy match.
We knew what that was the second we heard it.
But it felt so real. Like I was sitting there with them, chatting.
Give it a little bit of authenticity.
Right. Where like when the sergeant was like explaining one of the stories, I can't remember what it was he was explaining, but it really pulled me in, and it really got me interested. And I just I'd never seen this movie prior, and I heard the title and was like, oh my God, this is gonna be stupid as hell. And then last night I was like, God damn, that was a really good movie.
So
thank you.
I looked up the trailer.
Trailer's ridiculous.
I'm like, oh God, what are we about to watch? Why, Amy? What have you done? Is the thoughts that were going through my head, and we started watching the movie. I'm like, oh, cool. 36 seconds in, bloodbath, loving it.
Yeah.
Horror movies, my favorite, or not at all. And
when Wells's guts are hanging out,
when his sausages are coming out,
oh my God!
You could tell their sausages. Like, I was like, I wonder if Nick's gonna hate this or love it.
That didn't actually bother me, because
really,
you could see his actual regular stomach.
I noticed that too.
So this campy style horror movie, I think I could get through.
All right, but it was weird. It was campy combined with some good acting.
Right,
the campiness is the budget, not the intention of the film, and that matters for a lot, right? Like, you can improve the special effects a little bit, but like, it doesn't matter as long as the movie takes itself seriously. Then if you can see the sausage casing, whatever, like,
right. Yeah. And Lady and I do a lot of community theater work, and one of the things that we actually got into an argument with some of the actors about was whether or not there was a working intercom on the set. They swore up and down that they needed a working intercom to make it work.
Oh God, yeah.
And we had to actually have a production meeting and involve the actors and say, listen, I could put a hunk of plastic on the wall, and you could go up to it and touch it, twist it, push a button that doesn't exist, and tell the audience that this is an intercom. And from that point forward, in the lore of the story you are telling, that is now and forever shall be an intercom.
Wow, we've got like an acting lesson from Nick here.
Which is very weird, because that's not my thing.
Yeah, it's my thing. I usually wax poetic about this kind of shit.
But like, when the acting is good, when the story is good, when you don't care necessarily about whether or not it literally looks like a piece of sausage hanging from a white t-shirt splashed in entirely too red blood. doesn't matter because you want to know more about the story and you want to see what's next.
It's essentially,
It doesn't matter that it's a hunk of plastic nailed to the wall that you're calling an intercom. It doesn't matter that it's a tube full of sausage literally stapled to a t-shirt.
it's what you're describing is, as long as the actor believes it's real
Mhm.
and tells the story well enough so that it looks like they believe it's real, the
Yes.
audience will then understand that that is real, and that's just the way the world is.
Yes. And let's face it, you're watching this for a little bit of escapism to hear a story or something that you wouldn't otherwise experience. So
I'd call it escapism. But...
well, is it not? Do you watch movies for other reasons?
I mean, I don't know about this movie.
I wouldn't watch this movie to learn how to be a soldier or a werewolf.
Absolutely not.
But like, if you can sell as the actor that you as the actor believe what you're seeing is something that doesn't necessarily exist, and I keep going back to the intercom example because I have experience with literally talking to actors about that.
Yeah.
Like, we were talking about just putting a piece of wood or a piece of plastic on the wall and telling them walk up to it and talk at it, and the audience will know and understand that that's an intercom. If they can sell it like they believe it, then the audience is going to believe it too.
One thing I was gonna ask you, so far as Nick, you kind of, I think Nick or Andrea, you either mentioned, one of you mentioned this about the kind of the lingo. There's a lot of football lingo, like some of the lines are like things footballers would say. So I wanted to ask you, do you know what the line "they think it's all over, it is now"? Do you know what that means?
No,
because that's the final line of the film, or the kind of diehard line. So that is from a famous World Cup victory by England over Germany, West Germany at the time. England won, I think it was 4-2, and the commentator said they think it's all over, and then England scored, and it goes, "It is now." And it's like one of those
from the footy match.
From the footy match.
Okay.
And so, like, Germany and England is kind of like England seem to have rivalries with like every country in Europe, so it doesn't really matter. But like England Germany is always a big match for specifically English fans because we're supposed to be better than them, and they just beat us all the time, except for that one match, and we remember that one match. And so yeah, there's a lot of football lines in this film. For you Americans, I believe you pronounce it sock car or something like that.
I was about to say football. No, that season's over, bro.
Oh, sorry. Football.
There we go.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. A lot of football chants from some of the players. So I thought that was really cool. But I don't think a lot of Americans would understand some of the cultural context of that.
Probably
I don't
not.
think it matters. I think it's
no.
I think it's in the context of a soldier could just be taken as male bravado, just being like something to say in a otherwise very tense situation where you're about to be eaten by a freaking werewolf.
There's lots of great lines that don't have anything to do with football as well. My favorite being, and I think everyone can agree, after they kind of repel the first wave of werewolves, "Dogs, more like pussies." And then he immediately gets dragged out the window.
Yeah. The second he said that, I was like, yeah, he's gonna die.
And I was like, oh, he turned his back to the window. There he goes.
There he goes.
What else is campy? When Spoon, before he gets eaten, he goes to the werewolves.
Spoon doesn't get eaten, does he?
There is no
He
Spoon.
gets it.
Oh yes, that's right. He gets eaten like last.
Yeah.
There is no
He
Spoon.
said something like, "I hope I give you the shits" or something.
Yeah.
Like he was just at the end, just like punching them in the face. These are bare hand. They were fighting for their lives.
He was doing
all
damn
of them
good
were.
too.
He was a really great character.
I love that character.
Even though we didn't need to, but I was just like, I don't know who could possibly be that crazy.
A soldier.
Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, Spoon was great as the comic relief.
Yeah.
When they say they need someone real fast to act as a decoy and he doesn't hear them, they're all looking at him. He's like, "What?" Because he's the fastest one, right? There's a lot of like funny funny comedy. Yeah, here's the line from Spoon. I hope I give you the shits, you fucking wimp. Before he gets killed.
Before he gets eaten.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my
So
god.
this movie is definitely campy. If you like horror and action, it's the best of both. I mean,
But
I guess
think... Sorry, go ahead.
if you don't like horror, that would be bad, or like blood movies. I don't know, Nick,
Yeah.
you don't like that type of movies, but you were
really
okay with
don't.
this.
I really don't like those, but again, this is that kind of low-ish budget practical effects that you get the gist without getting completely revolted by the content.
Right. And the blood is very cartoony and splashy. It's not, it's more of the violence than horror.
There's actually one part in the movie where you can see the person's hand as they're throwing and splashing the blood on a surface.
I
You
didn't
see
even notice that.
in the bottom edge of the frame, there's just this like little blur that shoots through the frame as the blood splatters across the surface, and I'm just like,
I really want to.
oh wow, because the blood is also just like red Kool-Aid water.
It's really not great blood.
It's not
like
it doesn't look like blood.
There are a lot of really good blood recipes out there. They did not pick any of them.
Or the way that they were shooting, like the cameras picked up on the red color way more than they should have. Like it should have been more of a dark purplish red.
Yeah.
Like, but in any case, like that helped me.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Because like you were like, oh god, don't look, and I'm looking at it like, no, this isn't bad. It doesn't look real. So
did we turn
okay.
you? Are you gonna watch another horror movie now?
Hell no.
I don't know. I could find one. I think I could find one.
And I think Dog Soldiers is helped by the fact that I went through a stage of like I wanted to watch a lot of like monster movies like werewolves and vampires and stuff like that. There's not a lot of good werewolf movies out there. And specifically, like a lot of times the effects are terrible. So far as like considering this cost less than $3 million or pounds, I'm assuming. I don't know if they've translated it. But it's the werewolf costumes and the effects are pretty good considering.
They did it correctly.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that really worked in their favor with the werewolf costumes, like I thought it looked like a really tall guy wearing an Arnie's costumes mask.
It was.
But the thing is that we didn't ever get like a long look at the werewolves.
Yes. It was
always a very fast shot, which was deliberate.
And like in the first half to 2/3 of the movie, you didn't see it.
Right.
The monster's always worse in your imagination.
Yes, exactly. Yep. I think that's a good thing why that they kind of left it a little bit to your imagination.
I definitely think that helped.
It reminds me of the first Alien film because I'm wearing an Alien t-shirt right now. But the alien in the first Ridley Scott film is so clearly just a dude standing in the costume, and in the second film, they look a lot better. But it's very clear in the first Alien film, and it's forgivable, it is what it is, but it's the same thing. Like you can tell these are people in costumes, but it works effectively. The way they cut back and forth between the actors and keep the werewolves off screen. And specifically, the thing I love is the werewolf vision, the black and white, where they're cutting back and forth. We can't see where they are, but when it cuts back to their POV, they can see clearly where everyone is. I love that.
Yeah, it's a very. I mean, I think you were trying to mention this. It's a very Predator vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I got that Predator feel.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention, like, kind of go off of what someone else said, that the film is campy, but it's campy due to its low budget. And I think if it was campy, like, in the way that campy films kind of know that they are campy, like the film is sort of self-aware that it's a spoof or a campy kind of movie. This film was like trying to be serious, but had that campy effect because of the low budget. And
which I'll actually take any day.
Yes.
Because I would much rather they spent their money on actors that are ready and willing to act.
Yes.
Than special effects and practical effects. Like,
right.
But everything works, right? The action is decent for the budget. The actors are great. The characters, even though again there's campy lines and corny lines and there's jokes in it, the relationship between Cooper and Wells is fantastic. The antagonist, Captain Ryan and Cooper, that relationship is great. The character of Megan I thought was really, really well done and has a reason to do what she's doing. And so that all those characters, even though they're not incredibly deep, they all work for what the film needs. And so it's not just, when, one of the characters dies, it's not like, who was that guy? I can't remember. I don't really care, right? That, you know what I mean? There's only like one or two whose names I can't remember.
Right.
Yeah, because they pretty much opened the movie with like an intro to the characters in a way that felt natural.
Yes.
Like, hey, what are you afraid of? And they go around the room and talk about being humans for a minute.
Yeah.
And like it helps you kind of socialize the characters and like make those roles a little bit more human and relatable and pulls you into them.
I feel like this round, a lot of the movies that we've had have just suffered from really shitty scripts, but this one, like the writers, it's clear that they took the time to put the story together. They took the time to build the characters up, so we actually gave a shit about them.
Well, the director and writer Neil Marshall, who did both of them, actually started this concept, I believe he said 1995.
Oh,
and
okay.
At the beginning, he's like, I want a soldier movie about werewolves. And then he just kept redoing the script and redoing it. So I just seeing some of his movies, he's made Descent, he's made a lot of horror movies, or just, high action with brutal horror in it.
The Descent is legitimately should be considered a cult classic in my opinion.
Yeah.
The Descent
I've never seen it.
It's much better than, I mean, this movie's good for what it is, but The Descent is these 4 or 5 women. It's actually a very similar concept. These 4 or 5 women go cave diving and they kind of like fall down this giant hole in this mountain, and in the mountain are these like race of people that got caught up from humans years
really
ago.
scary.
And so now they're like bat people and they live in these caves and they start hunting these girls down.
Jesus.
It's so well done.
It is.
It really is probably I'm looking at his filmography. It's probably his best made film.
It was made only 3 years after this.
Yeah, that was so this film got him a lot of attention.
Yeah.
He's also directed a lot of TV as well. The director.
Okay.
So he's done like the Constantine TV show, Game of Thrones,
and a lot
Westworld.
of these actors that were in this movie.
Wait. What he did what for Westworld and Game of Thrones?
He's directed some of the episodes.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. He did Blackwater, the big attack there.
Yeah, the episode that he directed, I'm looking at this on Wikipedia, so I just don't know this. But the episode is the 3rd episode in the 1st season, called The Stray. And this is the one where Dolores asks Teddy to teach her how to shoot, and she's like, I can't pull the trigger.
Huh. Okay, so I can kind of see the soldier flair peeking in then.
Yeah.
Like, with a Wild West tinge, like she needs to have that that emotional or moment rather where she needs to decide to pull the trigger and end whatever's on the other end of that barrel and not just pretend, if that makes any sort of sense. Like the conscious effort to attack.
I do know that the director also in an interview was talking about how his whole family, his grandfather and his father were soldiers in different wars. So he grew up with that type of atmosphere, and that's why I could feel that maybe he had such a good handle on the characters and what he wanted because of it. I feel like this movie should have gotten at least more money to back it up, because it was very good.
Yeah, I agree.
It was surprisingly good.
If you watch this film and you haven't and you like it, you should just watch The Descent afterwards, because it's a similar motif. There's a small group of people stuck in a place, and a bunch of monsters are going to come and try and kill them.
It had to have had a better budget, though.
Oh well, yeah, of course, because this film showed what he could do, and so the studio gave him more money.
Mm. Speaking of actors,
yeah, speaking of actors, what a great transition to casting. So we're going to cast 4 of the group, because we could probably cast everyone in this film because there's not too many people in it, but for time wise, we're going to do Private Cooper. We are going to do Sergeant Wells, Sausage Man. We're going to do Captain Ryan, who is the leader of the Special Forces team. And then we're going to do Megan, who is obviously the female lead who picks them up on the road.
The zoologist.
Oh, excuse me, the zoologist.
Yeah. I feel like this movie was filled with actors where I was just like, oh my God, that guy looks like this guy. Yeah. She looks like this person. Who is that? It was a lot of that. And like, I had written down a list of people for my picks, and they were like the people that I thought looked like everybody else. Like for Private Cooper, the guy that plays Private Cooper is a guy named Kevin McKidd, and he was the lead. I think his name is Vorenus in the HBO series Rome.
Yep.
Yes.
He was really good in it.
He was really good.
Yes. Yep. And I was like, oh my God, he looks like Tim Roth. So I put Tim Roth down, and then I was like, wait, Tim Roth is like 55. That's not going to work. And then like for Captain Ryan, I was like, this guy looks like Victor Garber. And if you've watched Titanic, he plays the guy who like built the ships. He's like when these ships were built in Scotland, they held 20 Scottish men fill the boats. Like he was that guy. There were a couple of other ones too, but I was just like, this is just breaking my brain.
Amy, where do you know Kevin McKidd from? So is there a show that you've watched like over and over and over again that you love?
I like this really bad show that's been on for longer than 2 decades. He's from Grey's Anatomy. So I'm sorry for everybody. And he was a good actor in it, but that's how I recognized him.
So funny.
But he is very good in
He's great.
His other stuff, yeah.
He's great, yeah. So I guess, Amy, why don't you jump in? Who are you casting as Cooper in the film?
For Cooper, I chose, please don't make fun of me, but Tom Hardy.
Oh
no, that's an interesting pick.
Only because the actual character Cooper, I thought he was very gritty.
Yeah.
Like by the end, he took control way more than I thought he would, especially in the first scene when they kind of showed him as somebody who was failing and had to go into a different team because he couldn't make it in the special ops. But
the reason why he was failing is because he refused to shoot the dog,
which is
true.
That's such a great.
I'm happy.
Great.
It's like tropey and cliche, but it's so cool because it comes back, right? You know.
Yeah, it does.
And then there's another dog in the scene. I agree. I like that.
That's a good pick.
So I chose Tom Hardy.
Yeah, we'll have to up the budget to pay Tom Hardy his money to join the film. But Andrea, why don't you go next? Because I want Nick and I to have a special moment together for our pick.
A moment.
Well, I also picked I picked Tom Felton.
Oh, from Harry Potter, right?
Yes, he played Draco Malfoy in Harry Potter. He's a couple of other things too. But not only does he sort of look like the original actor who played Cooper, but as like the Harry Potters kind of went on, he sort of got a little grittier. And I feel like that he could have that air of like taking control and being in charge, but also like
not kill a dog.
Yes. Not kill the dog, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think that would be my pick. And he's young enough to play that part as well.
He definitely is. So
y'all did good.
You did.
I commend you.
Not quite good enough.
Nope, not good enough.
So Nick, you and I were at a party this weekend, and by a party I mean your house.
Jeez.
And
I don't know what you're trying to say there.
the party was at your house. I don't know.
Okay.
But we got on to discussing a certain actor and talked a lot about his movies. And so when it came to casting, I was like, oh yeah, he would be great for that. And you clearly did the same thing.
Weird. It's like we almost subliminally mind fucked each other.
Yeah, but we're correct. It's brilliant. It works.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I
we
agree.
picked Taron Egerton. Is that how we pronounce his name? Is that how we're saying it?
Yes, sir.
And
The only
he's
choice.
the correct choice. He's
Yes.
coming up. Obviously, he's probably most well known for The Kingsman
Oh,
Or playing Elton John.
or playing Elton John
I
most
was going to say
recently.
Robin Hood.
That was listen.
That was such a bad movie.
Oh my god, he's starring in Tetris upcoming next.
I can't wait to see that.
Ooh.
So we watched the trailer for the film at your house,
Yeah.
and it looked fantastic.
That's exciting.
He was also in a series that I haven't watched yet, but it's on my list called Blackbird, which came out. But yeah, he's mostly known for specifically the first Kingsman. I think the second Kingsman, I didn't hate it, but it's certainly not as good as the first one.
Yeah.
But I think he's a very, very versatile actor. He's good in everything I've seen him in. I actually recommended to everyone Eddie the Eagle, which is an independent movie starring him as someone who just a normal guy who tries out for the Olympic team on the ski high jump and makes it. But he's terrible, but he still takes place in the Olympics.
I saw that. It was a very good movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah, but he's fantastic in almost everything he's been in. I can't wait to see Tetris. He was in the movie. That's right. He was in the film Legend as well, starring Tom Hardy.
There you go.
Which was also quite good.
Yeah.
So I just think he has exactly what's needed for this role. He could play a soldier. He's got the acting skills. He can have a joke. He can be a little sarcastic. He can do pretty much everything that I think the actors in this film I want to do. Nick, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's essentially perfect. We've seen what he can do in the movies he's been in, and I think it falls into the role perfectly.
Yeah.
Moving
Perfect. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
No one can argue
Good job,
with us.
guys.
So next up, let's do Sergeant Wells, who is the leader of Cooper's group and really the kind of second lead to Cooper. They have a good relationship, and I would say they're friends, right? Amy, who'd you pick for Wells?
So I picked an actor, and I'm realizing in the movie that he was a little bit more his elder. He was older than him, a sergeant, and I don't really know the age difference, but I really like this actor, and I might be pronouncing his last name wrong. I picked James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great pick.
I think he has good storytelling.
He's fucking brilliant.
Sergeant Wells.
Split.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's
older now. He's got some grays in him.
Yeah, but he's someone that you can
senior.
age down to be an older soldier still, I think.
True.
Absolutely. Or I mean, they're in a special ops team that are hunting freaking werewolves for some independent research organization that reports to the military. Like it still fits. Like you would have in that role, you'd have like ex-military mercenary. Like you could play that off easily enough and cast him. Absolutely. I think that's a great pick.
I think so too.
I agree.
I like mine a little bit better though. Sorry.
All right. Nope, you're good.
All right.
Speaking of,
Well, who is your pick?
I picked Jason Statham.
Huh. Okay.
I mean, he could definitely pull it off. He's bold.
He also
so
kind of looks like the guy who played the character in the movie.
I'm only laughing because I picked him too.
Oh my god!
I picked him for a different character, Sergeant Ryan.
Oh, that's so funny.
You know what? I see him better as a Captain Ryan.
Nah, I picked a different guy for Captain Ryan.
Okay, I mean that's fair, but like you're wrong.
No.
I think he's too much of a good guy to be Captain Ryan.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I'd see him more as Sergeant Wells than Ryan for sure. Okay. I picked for Wells someone that I'm very fond of. And speaking of Robin Hood, Taron Egerton, there's another film called King Arthur, which was also kind of one of those historical fantasy films that directed by Guy Ritchie that failed pretty badly, but wasn't that terrible. And this actor's in it is Charlie Hunnam, who I'm picking once again.
You love him. I
do love him, and he's one of those actors I wish was in more things and kind of got more love. I think he's great, and I think he could play kind of a great older statesman to Cooper in the film. So it definitely could pull off the soldier. So that's my pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad.
Boy, Nick, I really don't like your pick.
That's fine. Yeah. Have you seen the movie Hot Fuzz?
Yes.
It's a glorious movie. It's
one of his best.
It is, and
it's like my favorite.
I couldn't unsee.
I put this idea in your head.
You did.
I did.
The minute you said, I'm like, yep, that's gonna happen now.
My original pick was gonna be Simon Pegg.
Why you got to blow up my spot? I'm supposed to say who the pick is. So the pick is Simon Pegg. Lady's absolutely correct. She was talking about it while we were watching the movie, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't unsee this. And I was flashing back to like Hot Fuzz, how he was such a hard ass in the beginning,
but also like a mentor to that other guy.
Well, yeah, but like
he's good at Mission Impossible too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, true, but that's a very different role.
But it's still an action.
It's still action, yeah.
It is an action film, but like that's the nerd in the chair kind of role for Mission Impossible.
Yeah, he's still
punches
comparatively and shoots guns and runs and jumps.
Right, but it's always, oh god, what is he making me do now? Like kind of thing. Whereas in Hot Fuzz, he was the best of the best in his role and ultra hard ass. And his only friend was the fern from his office. And but then he learned to develop a relationship with his idiot of a partner, and like learn to love the town that he was working for. Like, I could see Sergeant Wells being Simon Pegg's character in a past life.
That's very true. I had another pick for this character. I went through so many people in my head. This casting was this movie was super hard to cast and also very easy at the same time.
What?
Yes. Like I went through so I had like 3 original picks for this. My very first one when I was watching the movie was Andy Serkis.
Oh, that would have been a good one.
Because I was like, well, Sergeant Wells is a storyteller. Like, how many times has he told different stories to his men? And Andy Serkis is a fantastic storyteller. He also has that bit of crazy in him that Sergeant Wells kind of has. Yeah. Then my brain moved on to Simon Pegg, and I was like, that's great, not quite a fit. And then I moved on to Jason Statham.
I'm sorry, you made a hard left turn after Serkis into Statham. Like, mistakes were made.
Yeah, I'm crazy. It's fine.
I just don't see Simon Pegg as an actual soldier, if that makes sense.
It doesn't. It's pure nonsense.
It does make sense. He's lying.
But listen, I love Simon Pegg, and anytime I have the opportunity, I would happily put him in a film.
Well, here's the perfect opportunity because he's the best pick.
Ooh, strong disagree. Okay, let's move on then to Captain Ryan, who is probably the main antagonist. Obviously, the werewolves are the bad guys, but there's no named werewolves. So far as human antagonist, he's the main antagonist. He uses the other Cooper's team as bait for the werewolves. So, Amy, you said Jason Statham for this, even though he's a good guy, not a villain. So please defend yourself.
Why does he have to be a good guy?
He doesn't have to be. I just don't see him as a villain.
If he yelled at me, I would be very scared.
I mean, yeah, that's probably fair enough.
Is Captain Ryan not the hero of his own story? Does he not believe he's doing the best thing for the military and his people?
Beast.
Wow.
All characters believe they're the hero of their own story.
I know, that's why the argument's so easy.
Oh my god.
Well, I don't know why you think he's such a good guy.
Because, well, I mean, like he plays like the action hero.
The heroes? Well, maybe that's why he'd be great at this.
Okay, I mean, that's fine.
Bam.
Bam.
Patrick, who's your pick?
I went with someone who's a little older, but I think who could play the role, right? He could be kind of a special ops person who has kind of been reactivated to kind of deal with a special situation, but someone who's plays a really, really good villain and a very calculating villain, and who's also just a great actor. It's Ben Mendelsohn.
Why do
Probably
I know that name?
Best known from Rogue One as the villain, Krennic. He was also in Ready Player One.
Oh, him.
Okay, him.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
The one with the funny voice.
Yep. He was in Captain Marvel as well as the main Skrull.
Oh, as the Skrull.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shoot.
He is a bad guy.
I mean, he's a good guy in Captain Marvel because the Skrull ends up being a good guy.
Yes, he can play both good and bad
Yes.
guys. I just think he's an incredible actor and can play a great villain. So.
Yeah, I guess that works.
Works real
Yes.
He's got too nice of a face. I don't think he'd kill a dog.
well.
Well, he can't. I mean, he was great as Krennic in Star Wars. So
No, you're right. He's a good actor.
yeah, that's where I'm casting him from.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Who wants to go next?
Excuse me. I'll go next. I didn't realize that the relationship that my pick had with Tom Felton until just now. I swear to God. I picked Jason Isaacs.
Okay.
He's
that's a
the
great
guy
pick.
that plays Malfoy the senior
Yep.
in Harry Potter. He's also in I did not realize I did that until like 5 minutes ago. He's also oh gosh, what else is he in? He's in Star Trek Discovery as the captain from the Mirror Universe who takes over from
He's great in that.
the captain that dies. He's in a couple of other things too.
He plays generic British bad guy in many films, including
Yes,
The Patriot.
The Patriot. Yep, generic British bad guy.
Yeah.
Um,
He's a terrific actor, though. I think this is a great pick.
and I think the chemistry between him and Tom Felton would be amazing. For reasons that are already obvious.
Like that, actually. Like, I really like that pick.
Yes, I'm amazing. Thank you.
He
Not the
does.
words I said.
He does comedy pretty well as well. I don't know if anyone's seen The Death of Stalin, which is a satire.
Now.
which is a satire, and it's based in Russia, but everyone in the movie has a strong British accent. Like, they don't do Russian accents; they just speak their normal accents, and it's like on purpose, because it's a satire.
Michael Palin is in The Death of Stalin.
Oh, that cast is loaded. And
oh my God!
Yeah, very much went under the radar. Yeah, that cast is stacked.
I love Michael Palin.
Yeah. Steve Buscemi, I believe, is in it as well.
Yeah, he is.
There's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of people who'd be like, "Oh, that person from that thing." So, but yeah, really, really funny film, and he's great in that as well. So, Nick, who did you pick?
So, I actually really like Lady's pick.
Oh,
And kind of want to like cancel my pick and jump on her bandwagon. But my original pick was Nicholas Hoult. He's in Mad Max Fury Road. He's in The Menu. As just a royal douche. He's in Warm Bodies if you're into rom-coms. He's in
a really good rom-com, which is also kind of a horror movie too. He eats brains.
Fair, I guess. Maybe not really, but he's also in X-Men.
Yes,
as Beast. He's just got a ton of range, and I'd love to see him in this role, to see what he could do with it. But
to do with a more, because in The Menu he's the antagonist, but he's not a villain. He's just an absolute idiot. and a selfish person, but he is great in it.
Yeah, and I'd love to see him take this role and what the original actor tried to do in trying to be everybody's friend at first and trying to like be part of the military group moving forward. Like he's a hard ass at first, but like he tries to integrate and fails at it. I'd love to see a little bit more spycraft, if you will, and like trying to mesh in with the group, to have the twist of he's the first guy to turn into a werewolf that's been like struck by one of the werewolves, to make that hit harder, to make that twist hit a little harder. But
Fair.
That's I don't know. Yeah. That's kind of where I was going with it.
It's definitely a role that I don't think he's taken on before, so maybe that might interest him, because he's someone who is happy to be an antagonist. He can be the quiet protagonist. He can be in a comedy. He's got a film coming up this month, I believe, called Renfeld, where he's Dracula's servant.
Yes.
I want to see
why
that.
You picked him, because
we also watched that this weekend.
Yeah,
maybe it's subliminal again.
Very subliminal.
Yeah, that trailer looks great, and I definitely am interested in that one.
Oh man, Nick Cage. Like I was sold on that movie from the trailer before Nick Cage appeared, and then when Nick Cage appeared in an absolutely ridiculous vampire attire, I was like,
"Yep,
well, shut up and take my money."
Absolutely. All right, last piece of casting then is Megan, who is the zoologist who leads the team to the safety of a house in the middle of nowhere, where it turns out the werewolves live. So I guess, Amy, you've been going first. Who's your pick for Megan?
My pick for Megan is actress Sophie Turner. Basically, she's really just remembered from Game of Thrones. She's been in, I believe, one of the X-Men remakes.
Dark Phoenix.
She's been
Dark Phoenix.
She
Dark
plays
Phoenix.
Yeah. She's been in a couple of them, like all of the older ones. Yeah.
I don't know. I really had a problem, only because I didn't really care for the actual character in the movie. So I just looked through some British actresses and I saw her face. I was like, oh, she'd be a pretty cool looking werewolf. Maybe if I did remake this movie, I would make that character a little bit more appealing. I know that I know they tried to do it. I think it was just at the wrong time. I think when they tried to give her character development, we were completely drawn into, we're in the midst of a werewolf attack, you know?
And I can see that one too. Like that's a great idea, because you can have a moment of, after the first wave, they've got to go back, they've got to heal, we've got a few minutes to ourselves, and then like she could talk about some hey, Megan, what about you? How'd you end up here? And she does her stupid zoologist thing. Screw that noise. Go with the whole, I was visiting family, stories from families past. Grab that picture and pick it up again. Like a different character picks up the picture of the family that lives in the house, and a little bit of alluding to or foreshadowing that she was the one holding the camera that took the picture, kind of thing. Like they tried to push that a little bit. I think she's the weakest part of the plot, because she wants to leave, but then she changes her mind because it doesn't work. So she just like, I guess I'll portray you guys now. So I want her to have like a better reason to be helping them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like when she started shooting at the werewolves, you could see she was pained doing so. Mm-hmm. That was the first bit of foreshadowing that told me that she was a werewolf too.
Also, how she like completely deflected that silver and the other things that make werewolves die, or she also like kind of deflected that was something that actually worked.
You know what though? Here's a question. Was she actually a werewolf the whole time? Or was she like the one in the family that wasn't?
No, she kind of half changed before they shot her in the head.
I think she got injured or cut at some point.
Yeah,
and I think they showed it.
Her hand.
She knew who the family, the tribe of wolves were.
Yeah, but clearly then, in again getting into the world's lore, clearly then you can choose when to change into a werewolf. In a full,
Yeah.
like a full moon doesn't automatically turn you into a werewolf, then, right?
Well,
Hmm.
that's why I was asking, because that's kind of where my brain went, is like, was she a werewolf the whole time, or was she truly just a friend of the family and she was visiting and found out that they're all werewolves and was trying to get away, and then all these army guys jumped into her truck and oh crap, let's go back to the house. Maybe put some more backstory there, saying this is her sacrifice to save herself. She's dumping all these guys at the house so she can get away, and it doesn't end up working that way. But the real reason she turns into a werewolf is because she cut her hand on the window that the werewolf also cut themselves on.
Yeah, and if she is actually a werewolf, you could really play with it. Like, she seems to be like wrangling these guys up and bringing them to the house to in the guise of protecting them, but really she's bringing home dinner.
Right. And like maybe she just little nods to it, like she avoids windows where the moonlight's coming through,
Right,
and closes curtains and silly things like that. Little innocuous things.
mm-hmm.
But in hindsight, or watching the movie a second time, you would notice those things.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought her being a zoologist was really cool because, like, she got really, really excited when she's describing the werewolves.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that, you know, if she's a zoologist, that would really interest her. Also, I mean, if she's a werewolf, it would make sense that she gets really excited.
Yeah. Well, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is her story wasn't very clearly defined.
No.
And we don't really know
Right.
her purpose there, and I think there could have been a little bit more development on that.
There were a lot of opportunities for that development too.
Yeah.
Like when they're stitching up Sergeant Wells.
Yeah.
And Cooper has knocked him out. They have
Literally
this moment where they're
knocked him out.
talking together. And, that could have been a moment there.
Perfect time for some exposition.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I think I agree with that, but let's finish casting her real quick.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I it was appropriate to kind of like go into what we thought of her character here. But so Amy, you went with who did you say? I can't remember.
Sophie Turner.
Sophie Turner. I didn't know who to go with. I have like two options. I originally had in my head Juno Temple, who I mostly know from the show Ted Lasso, but I don't know if she would fit that role. But the other pick is Imogen Potts. Is that how you say your name? And she's from a show that we've watched called Outer Range, which
it's very good. She's
a slow burn, but she was great in that, and she plays someone who has a secret very, very well. And so I feel like that would be my pick, is her.
I think your second pick is very good.
Yeah. So that's my pick. I think she could pull off the I got a secret, but I care about everyone. And yeah.
No, I like that. I think it works.
I like my pick better.
What's your pick?
My pick is Melanie Lynskey. She right now is most known for playing a character in The Last of Us. What's the name of the character? I don't remember the name. Her character name is Kathleen. She's only in a couple of episodes, but she plays like a character. She's a character actor in a lot of places. It's like she's like she's that person who did the thing, and she's
is she the leader of the Resistance?
Yes.
Okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
like one of the very first scenes we see her in is like she shoots a guy in the head. But she's also in Don't Look Up. She's in a bunch of other things. But when I saw the character Megan, it was like, damn, she looks like someone I've seen before. And after looking, I was like, it's this actress. And it just happened to be that, well, I think she could do a very good job with this. Because at least in The Last of Us, the character she doesn't take any crap. And she's not afraid to, And
there's clearly something else going on in the background.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick as well. Nick, you get to go last.
Huzzah! I chose Emily Blunt, kind of from the idea was from Edge of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that like guarded character that definitely has some story, but she's not going to tell you.
Is the Edge of Tomorrow the movie that's 4 hours long?
It's like 6 hours long if you get the director's cut, but yeah, yeah, with Tom Cruise, and they're like trapped in a day, repeating day. But yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking.
I like her as an actress. I don't think she would quite fit for this role, but I think she is a good actress.
I'm just gonna have to go with sorry, sir, you're wrong.
Fair enough. All right. So,
I feel like the actor who plays Megan has to be a little on the homely side.
Huh.
Not to say unattractive, but more like conventional in appearance.
Okay.
That sounds
And
really
Emily-
awful to say. Someone
Emily
who kind
Blunt's
of looks
too
like
drop dead gorgeous for this role.
you got it.
Oh, okay. I don't honestly think that matters.
I mean, probably not.
You
but-
could have a sexy zoologist, I'm saying. You could also have, a sack of
I
nickels
think-
zoologist.
I think you're automatically sexy if you're a zoologist. I think it's just a cool job. Like there's just something about it. It's like, goddamn, zoology. Am I right? All right, let's move on to what changes we'd like to see. But before we do that, Amy's going to go ahead and take a break and let out our dog who needs to pee. All right, we're back. My dog has peed. We're all good. So let's talk about changes to this film. I don't know about the rest of you, but I like this film enough where my list of changes is actually quite small.
Me too.
Perfect. So, Amy, this is your pick. So why don't you start us off then and kind of talk about some of the things that you would change in a remake of the film?
Well, first of all, picking this film, I think I just picked it because I wanted Nick to watch it, and I really liked it. And I thought it deserved more
Thanks.
credit. And when it came out at the time, I don't remember it being out on, not as blockbuster. I really like a lot of it, even though it is low budget. There's some fight scenes, some soldier fighting scenes that I think are a little
They're
corny?
a little they're corny and they've cut a little weird because they don't have the budget to show the wide
so
shots,
maybe
right?
that
Yeah.
I don't want to put too much CGI in it. I'm not gonna lie. I really just like werewolf movies where you see the morphing, and that's almost every single werewolf movie. The fact that they didn't do this and I liked it, that has to say something.
It never
Yeah.
looks cool enough when they're morphing.
It never
you know?
does, and I
Right.
don't know why we think that, because it's not like we've seen a werewolf.
It
Right.
would be cool if they could get the morphing right.
Right.
Yes.
But I don't think Hollywood's done it right yet.
Right.
I also
it-
think that there's a certain level. I don't know about you, Amy, but I get that. I feel like I'm getting this vibe from you. I'm a little CGI fatigued.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
like,
get what you're saying.
I love the fact that all of the effects here are practical, even if they
Yeah.
are kind of crappy. It really just felt nice to not have to watch something computer generated.
Yeah.
And
I agree. And you look at a lot of like the best action films, Mission Impossible, they do their stunts for real, even if there's some CGI added in. Tom Cruise does the stunts. Mad Max Fury Road, for real. John Wick, mostly for real.
Yeah, like they
Um,
all did real weapons training to make that choreography look
Yes.
Yeah.
real as hell
Yeah.
in John Wick.
Yeah.
Keanu
And,
Reeves
like-
is actually a really good shot too.
So I hear.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we go see a lot of Marvel films because that's a thing we've done with our family. My sister and my cousin and us go to see a lot of Marvel films, and like earlier Marvel films had a lot more practical effects, and the action felt more visceral because it looked more real. And there's a lot of outside of Shang-Chi, most of the post Endgame stuff is just very CGI, and the action is it doesn't feel real, and so in a way that's boring. And this film, it feels real, and I think you'd want to keep that and keep as little CGI as possible.
I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
I feel like with
Ant-Man and Quantumania, that looked so practical.
Marvel, are you kidding me?
They really
You're being
built
facetious, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh my God.
I absolutely
A lot
am.
of the Marvel movies, it's like some of the CGI is getting so bad that it kind of looks like a cartoon. Like it looks like two gummy bears are fighting, falling through the sky sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking at you, Black Panther.
Yeah, Black Panther's a bad example of that.
Yes.
The last like 10 minutes of Black Panther, well, it was a great movie. That CGI flying through the sky, swinging at each other with two CGI generated characters.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Yeah.
There's
Agreed.
better ways to do that battle.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I would just basically clean up some of the action sequences. Honestly, I wouldn't change much of the, I don't know how to say this, I want to call it money shot, but it's not that.
Oh baby.
What's the name when like someone's getting stabbed or
I
their
think they
head's
call it
coming
jizzing on someone, or no, that's not
Okay.
it.
No, I think it.
cut, repeat. I wouldn't change a lot of the
Like,
werewolf killing scenes because I think it's cool how they did some of it, the punching or the actual swords. I like that. I would just clean it up.
So
I'd put
you
money
would
out.
you would define the hero payoff.
Yeah, and
That money
have this-
shot.
I would take out that scene where
What is it called? I'm gonna figure it out.
I would take out that part where the werewolf has the sword through him and he's like pushing on the other guy's teeth.
Oh
That was
God.
horrible. I'd take that out all day.
That's a
actually-
change Pat would actually do.
Yeah, I have written down here. So Cooper or Ryan is the werewolf with the sword through him. And I mentioned in the beginning of the film that I didn't really care for the camping scene, and it's only there to set up the fact they have a silver, object. I really love the fact that they like run out of bullets. I wish that the fight was a little more desperate. Like, instead of finding these like big, gas things, maybe they like find the whiskey and make Molotov cocktails and stuff like that. Because you have the bigger budget, you can play with fire, literally and figuratively. So
yeah,
like
and they
maybe
did touch on that.
yeah, like
When they blew up
they
the garage thing.
yeah, so they did the the boiling water on a stove, but like I'd love to see some
Yeah.
like make Home Alone stuff, like making Molotov cocktails and stuff like that. And then the fact that he finds a sword is awesome. I'd love for the end scene to be like they're out of bullets, and maybe like we said, there's a pendant, right? That one of them has, it's silver, and maybe they melt the silver onto the sword. And I'd love to have the final fight between Cooper and Ryan be with Ryan or with Cooper having the sword, and he can put it into his guts, and they can do the werewolf gets closer, like Lord of the Rings or The Witcher 3, if you've ever played that video game. And then Ryan or Cooper pulls the sword out, whoops it around his head, and just cuts his head off with the silver sword. Like I think
shoot.
Well,
that
they
would be really
actually
cool, because like
do
right
have a
now
scene like
he
that,
just shoots him in the head. And I was like, But like, if you've ever played The Witcher 3, there's a scene where you like when you can kill someone, you can get like an animation where like you spin the sword around, something like that, or when Aragorn kills the main villain from Fellowship of the Ring, like something cool like that would be a good way to end it.
Otherwise, make it more important that he only has like one bullet left to kill this thing.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a desperate scene. He could be like, damn, only one bullet left. Well, they'll never take me alive.
That's so cheesy.
That's kind of what I was going for.
Oh God. Well, we all know what kind of movie Nick wants to make.
All right, fair. Yeah. I mean, outside of that, I don't have too many changes either. It's that, and then we've kind of discussed the Megan thing with wanting to give her a reason to do what she's doing outside of, well, I didn't want to be here anymore, because once you leave, you're still a werewolf. Like, does anyone have any suggestions on what you would change there? I had a suggestion, but I don't know whether it's a good idea or a bad idea.
I have a couple of suggestions, but they're not real big ones. They're just suggestions that would come with a bigger budget, because I wouldn't change anything with the story other than what we talked about with Megan. They're in the brightest dark woods I've ever seen.
Yes.
It looks like it's daylight outside when they're running through the woods.
There's
So
actually scenes where the windows are fully lit like
Yeah.
daytime.
Definitely,
I
it's
noticed
definitely
that
there's
too.
definitely I listen.
I
I get
mean,
that there's a full moon, but
yeah, that moon is hella bright.
Yeah.
The
A blue filter over the camera doesn't make it nighttime.
right. The car scenes, you pointed this out, Beast, where they're just in the car and like someone is shaking it from the outside.
Oh, that was
Like they're not really
very
moving.
noticeable.
That was weird.
Right in the beginning when she picks them up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're supposedly driving down the road. If you look through the driver's side window, you can see a couple of branches that never move while they're all like jostling around.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you could fix that. Like you should have seen that. You could fix that. That even with your budget, drive 3 feet further down the road where the foliage is a little more dense.
Yeah.
Or like fog up the window. It's a cold night. Like
it's raining.
Like you could fix that.
There was one more like character type change that I'd make. When I was watching this, I was like, how is Cooper a private? For supposedly being a new soldier, he knows a lot about leadership, group tactics, combat, first aid. Like he knows his shit, and it's like he's the one that should be the leader of the group, not some other guy. And it's like, why do you know so much, man? Like, how are you a private?
I think they're trying to say that after he flunked out of the special ops program, they like busted his ass down to private.
I don't think so, because he was part of that group, and then he was going to leave to go to the special forces. Listen, I haven't been in the army, but I assume the army is like other organizations where there's a bunch of really competent people at like private and sergeant level who don't get promoted because they're too fond of telling the truth. So that's my headcanon is like they're too good. They're not incompetent enough to be promoted into leadership positions.
They haven't proven enough loyalty.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I would at least, make him a sergeant and then like maybe make Wells a captain and kind of like move the ranks up a little bit. So it just feels like it makes more sense.
Okay.
I really liked the super glue part though, where he's like, get me, what did he say? Get me something in super glue. What was the
whiskey and super
glue? And I was just like, oh wow, that's really cool. I'd heard about that.
And there was even like a little bit of exposition being like, you ever wonder why super glue, you try and stick things together and they never stick, but heaven forbid you get it between your fingers and they'll never come undone. Right. There's a reason for that. They developed it for the army.
Yeah.
I have no idea whether or not that's true.
I feel like I've heard that before.
But like
I've heard it was developed in Vietnam, but that might be an old wives' tale.
It's kind of like
I think they said that in the movie actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it may be a myth, but reality of it is the super glue actually does bond skin instantly. Yeah. So whether or not it was actually developed for that or not, I loved that they used that to put him back together.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they didn't bring up like maxi pads because those were an army thing that got co-opted into like civilian life.
Yeah.
I mean, they
were for bullet wounds though.
Yes.
But yeah. No, I kind of agree with what the group said so far. I just want to reiterate that Megan's character did need some more backstory. Like you could have so much fun with her backstory.
Yeah, you could.
And not change the outcome of the movie, but give it so much more depth as to the werewolf family, where she came from, why she's doing what she's doing, how she is or is not a werewolf before this whole thing starts. You could literally say, she's not a werewolf. She was the redheaded stepchild of that family because she wasn't the werewolf. And that's why she got out. And that's why she got into zoology. And then she came back and turned into a werewolf, which is why it pained her so much to shoot the other werewolves. Like you could add that depth to the movie just by changing a few lines of character dialogue. So I'd play with that. I'm not saying that would be the ultimate change, but I'd, play with that idea and let's see where it goes. Maybe it turns into a better story.
Oh my God, guys.
That's the only. Go ahead.
So I looked up super glue real quick. Medics, it was invented in World War II for medics. Medics used it to spray directly on skin to stop bleeding until the patient could make it to a hospital for treatment. And it also looks like that it was researched by Eastman Kodak.
Interesting.
I don't know how accurate this source
Hometown
is.
hero.
Yeah.
Local
Mr.
company for
Eastman.
the win.
Eastman Kodak and Ephagon began studying whether the glues could be used to hold human tissue together for surgery.
Gross.
Neat.
That is cool.
One more thing I will say about the film, though. Captain Ryan absolutely deserved to get thrown up on. And when he got thrown up on, I was like, yeah, you deserve that, dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
That was good.
All right. So we don't have too many changes. We all like the film. The question is, would we remake the film? Nick, why don't you go first?
I don't think so. I'm sorry, but I went into this thinking that I was being trolled. And it's Amy, I think
Right?
you kind of half admitted that I was being trolled into watching a horror flick. But I really liked it as it was. 3 or 4 more views through this, maybe that opinion will change. But where I sit right now, no, I'd leave it as is. Even with the campy everything, even with the marginal practical effects, I'd leave it where it is. It's just good the way it is.
All right, fair enough. Andrea?
Ooh.
I want to say yes because of the changes to the script, like the tweaks. But if it was like yes or no, black and white, then I don't think I would change it.
That's exactly where I was.
Yeah, because it's like, if I could change anything, it would just be cleaning up some action and some script rewrites, but not big ones.
I don't think it changes it.
But otherwise, I'd leave it the same. However, if you were to say, no, you have to change it, like remake it yes or no, and no in betweens, then I think I would choose to keep it the way that it is. I really enjoyed it, Amy. Like, I was ready to watch a pile of detritus on my screen. And then halfway through, I was like, oh, wow, I'm enjoying this. I'm invested in these characters.
Yeah. You don't know how it is until it pulls you in.
And then at the very end, one more thing that we didn't put into I didn't mention before, but there were 2 things. Like, I like how it started with him not killing the dog and it ended with him and the dog. That made me so happy. And we all know how much I like symmetry. And then during the end credits, it's like it feels like that this movie did end credit scenes before it was cool, because when you were looking through the end credits, it had the pictures from the camera.
Oh yeah,
the
werewolves
taking
that they were using to stun the
scare
werewolves.
him.
Yes, to scare the werewolf. And I thought that the sergeant
good.
giving Cooper the roll of film, it was a very quick, small detail, but I really liked how he managed to get that in, and that in the credits you saw the pictures that they had taken when they were blinding the werewolves. I thought that was such a cool touch.
Yeah, that was good.
So yeah, if it was do or do not, I would not change it.
I agree. It's a tough call, honestly. I'm right 50-50, but 51% for me says don't remake it.
For me, I think we can all agree. I'm with the both of you that I'm right on the line of I love this movie. It's a classic, but does it need to be remade? I personally wouldn't mind seeing a remake as long as it was done right. So I'm gonna lean yes, but ultimately, if you never get a remake and I have to watch this film, that's perfectly fine. So I'm gonna lean yes, so that we can update some of the action and put a little more budget into it. But like I said, this film is fine. It's a classic. I would say if you want to see more, like I said before, go see the film The Descent. It's great. It's probably a better film than Dog Soldiers, even though I like Dog Soldiers better as kind of my movie, if that makes sense. And then
I have something else to add. I did have one change that I forgot to mention because I didn't write it down.
Okay.
I changed the title.
What?
The title is terrible. It's very misleading. I change it.
Were you thinking of
how is it
the
misleading?
American Native Americans?
Well, I mean, I thought it would have something to do with literal dogs.
Oh,
It does. It starts and ends with a literal dog.
But it's about werewolves.
Yeah, but werewolves are like dogs.
I don't know. I just don't like the title at all.
Okay.
I thought I was
Disagree.
going to find something hokey, and I didn't get hokey, and I was just like, wow, I feel like the title sucks.
Well, that's your opinion. It's wrong, but you're entitled to it.
Well, you know what?
well, if you're going to change the name of the movie, you have to remake it.
No.
Yep. I do believe that's a qualifier.
I'm kind of on the edge too on this. I want to see it remade because I want to see more money into it. Loved
Okay.
all the actors. Maybe put more emphasis, like what you said, with the character Megan backstory. So yes, remake.
Okay. So it's 50-50, but I think we're all very much in the middle. We can't quite decide as a group if that is that accurate?
I think we're within margin of error.
Would we want to say maybe sequel then?
They did a crappy sequel that I never saw, but it's very badly rated.
They
Yeah,
did.
there's a sequel.
No,
to it. I've never seen it.
Come on, really?
No.
Yeah, it looks horrible.
See, I feel like it would have gotten some, noise being based off a movie that has a really good cult following.
They did.
Did they really?
They
and
called
bombed.
it Dog Soldiers 2 Fresh Meat.
Ew.
Yeah.
Okay, so
let's
pretend that didn't happen. Now I'm gonna have to watch that to see if it is
on
good.
purpose.
Yeah, I mean it's probably awful, but
is
wait
it
a
from
minute.
the same director?
I actually just looked it up. Apparently, it never got finished.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was
Good.
planned to begin, and they started filming, but
Was COVID? Was it
never
COVID?
got. No, it was back in 2006.
Oh.
And it never got finished.
Interesting.
Little tidbit.
All right.
We need to end on a really good quote from the movie.
They think the podcast's all over. It is now. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Original Remake Podcast. If you'd like to provide feedback or have a question, please email us at remake.cast@gmail.com, and we'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.